Hi there, everybody. It's me, and welcome to Sunday, well, the week of May 31st. And I just wanted to say that everybody's doing really amazing with this online learning, mainly because they're just really being supportive and engaging in the discussion forums. So please keep it up. I decided that I'm going to not lock off any of the conversations on the Sunday because I don't want to prevent those conversations from going further. If people have an interesting dialogue going on, then I wouldn't want to be the person to sever that. So I have not contributed as much feedback this last week as I would have liked. I did get busy with some other stuff. But it's important for me to give feedback on your drawings, particularly. And if certain things that come up in the topic posts, I also want to give feedback. So please check back on them once in a while, and you might find that I've left a comment or a question on your work or your ideas. So keep that going. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna get into 2-point perspective and then 3-point perspective, and then in the next couple weeks, we're getting close to being done here, but because there's 3 weeks left. But then we're gonna get into more into portraits and more into the figure, but I wanted to leave that stuff to the end because it is quite challenging and all of these exercises are leading up to that point. Okay, so some people did really well on the 1-point perspective drawing the exercise, and I'm gonna sketch while I'm talking. But even the students if you watch my crit of everybody's stuff, even the students who didn't completely get the concepts, I still think they did well because they did the best that they could, and that's important to me. So that we know where, you how do I put this? You put your best foot forward, and now you and I and we know where everybody stands in their understanding of these concepts, and that's fantastic. So everybody is just learning it at a different skill level, and my explanation, one person's explanation of a concept might not be the best for everybody, so we just have to keep learning together. Okay, so 1-point perspective. Okay, basically, I'm going to do this all without a ruler because even though I said please use a ruler, but for this I'm just demonstrating the concept, so I'm just going to do it really fast. Oops. There we go. That should be straight. Okay, horizon line. Okay, let's put a box here. In 1-point perspective, the face of a box is completely parallel to your face. So if you imagine the picture plane, as we talked about, is a sheet of glass that you're holding up to the world, and you're looking through that sheet of glass or window. And in 1-point perspective, we're talking about box-shaped things is the easiest way to demonstrate it. They are facing you. So this pencil sharpener is facing you square to the picture plane, to the window that you're looking at. That would be 2-point perspective. And then this or that would be 3-point. Okay, so I hope that makes that easier to understand. All right, so 1-point perspective, this thing is square to you, and then let's say the vanishing point is there, then all the diagonals. go to the vanishing point. And let's say this thing is, this box is transparent. Then that's what that looks like, okay? If I put another box over here, then it also, all the diagonals line up to that one single vanishing point. I'm going to put VP, okay? So somebody said that my explanation of the hands of a clock helped her understand that, and that's awesome. I like to have feedback on my videos because I'm not talking to you in real time, so, and you're not able to ask me questions. And to be honest, I haven't got a lot of questions back from people from my on the emails. There is a disconnect. So if students are just trying to do their best, but they're not asking me questions, then I can't help them until after I look at it and say, okay, you got it or you didn't get it. Anyway, I'll just try to make my explanations better. But I do also invite you to visit me on Blackboard and ask me questions there. Okay, so there's the horizon line, and then now we have a box floating in the air, and it's also doing the same thing. Okay. It's really no different than if you're doing this, right? You just, things that are above the vanishing point, then you see the bottom of it. Things that are below the vanishing point, you see the top. And all those diagonals, they converge like this, okay? Like that. They all go towards the vanishing point. Now, let's say all this stuff was inside a room. You know, nothing changes. You have okay, there's the back wall of a room, and let's say these objects are within the room, right? So vanishing point goes to vanishing point, and we're not seeing this wall, but maybe there's a door here. And a window. And a rug. And a window on here. Anything that you place on this wall or up here has to have diagonal lines that connect to the vanishing point. See how I did that? This is not quite, this angle is somewhere between here, 0, and here, if that's what, like a 20-degree angle or something. So maybe this is 10 or 8. So the farther it gets up, the more vertical it gets. It's like this. Okay. All right, 1 point perspective. Two-point. Okay, let's do use my ruler for the horizon line this time. Okay, 2 point. Vanishing point 1, vanishing point 2. You can have the vanishing points right off the page. Sometimes that works better, but it introduces a new problem that you have to like have like a piece of tape or something like that right there, another one like there, and then if you were to draw the vanishing point there and there, then you just need to make sure that your ruler goes to there and there. So that's what I'm going to do. This is harder to do when if you have a thick sketchbook because as you can see, if I have a sketchbook here and I have a piece of tape down here, it's harder to line up the ruler with that piece of tape. You'd have to look straight down and make sure that it's visually on top of that point. Okay, so so that being said, to make it easier on you, because I imagine most of you are working directly in your sketchbook, let's keep the vanishing points on the page. Okay, 2-point perspective, 2-point purse. Okay, so instead of looking at an object square on, it's tilted now. Okay, so the easiest way is for us to start with putting a vertical line anywhere. You can follow along with me, and then you can go as high or low as you want, but if it goes too high, it starts getting kind of distorted. And that just understanding that comes with a little bit of practice. So there, and then there. I'm just eyeballing this. Draw another vertical line. So these lines are what we call orthographic. Just like in this, let's pretend I was using a ruler and a square. I can't even see it. Where am I? I'm gonna grab my T-square. Okay. So most of you will not have this, but this is handy. Something like this is handy for drawing right angles, like this. But also a triangular square from a geometry kit is useful. Orthographic means that all of these vertical lines are perfectly parallel to the side of the page, and the horizontal lines are also perfectly parallel to the top and bottom of the page and the horizon line. Okay, that's something you want to maintain with your perspective drawing. Okay, so you saw how I drew a vertical line and I linked the top to these two vanishing points, VP1, VP2. Now let's make those tighter. Okay. And then let's say we wanted to make a make this into a house. How do you draw a peak? Okay, so let's take a pencil, draw an X. Notice how the middle of the X is not in the middle of this square if I was to measure it like that, right? That's like 1 3/4 of an inch. So half of that is somewhere about here, right? So that's like just over 3/4. Yeah, so somewhere over here if you measure it. But in the rules of perspective, if you draw an X, then the center point is right there, because similar to if you took a square object like this and you were to tilt it, then this point becomes closer to you, and any area here becomes visually larger than any area here of the same size, right? It's that diminishing scale. So if you draw an X, the center point is going to be offset, and you draw it up here, and that is the peak of your roof. And to draw the back, go like that. You can do, I prefer you to do this with a ruler, but I'm just kind of sketching it super fast, just so you understand the principle. And I don't want to make the video too long. Okay, so if this box was transparent, then that would be the back of it. And we also draw an X here. Bring the center up. And then let's see here. It looks like actually the whole roof line is gonna not be visible because of the height. See that? So, however, if I was to make the peak taller, then it would be different. That's how you draw a peak. Okay. So if I put a door here, let's say you had a tiny door, then the top of it, because it's below the horizon line, has to be the same, going in the same direction as the bottom of the house, right? But if you had a tall door on this side, then it goes in the opposite direction. If you put a window here, okay, I should use a ruler actually. Just go like this, like that. Okay, so that's how you would draw a house in 2-point perspective. If you wanted to add more elements like a driveway or bushes, tree, then you could do all those things. But anything that's square shaped and that sits on the surface like this has to follow those lines. Okay. Okay, that's 2-point perspective. This week's exercise is to, I'd like you to draw a 2-point perspective house like this, but see if you can make it look like your childhood home from memory, which is really difficult. But, well, I don't know. The point is not to make it look accurate, but for you to use your imagination to try to remember elements of it, that that you remember. So try to incorporate elements that you remember. Start off with a box. Most houses are box shaped. So start off with a cube and start trying to add the elements that you do remember. If there was a house butted up right next to it, like the house I grew up in was a duplex, and it was one house that was split into two. So you could try to draw the second one, or just leave it out. Just draw everything that you remember from the house that you grew up in, and then forget everything else. Anyway, it's kind of an imaginative experiment. I'd like to do something that kind of involves a little bit of creativity. So that's 2-point perspective. You know, this is a more elaborate version of that same thing, but I used a ruler for this one. I used a T-square to map these out, right? So every single vertical is all following that. But if I was to show you how to do this in the video, it would be like an hour. So I don't want to subject you to that, but the principles are the exact same. I have a vanishing point here and here on the horizon line, and then I drew this vertical and linked it up to here, and then I started building the inside of the rooms. I decided to make this house kind of have an interior and an exterior, and I gave the window frames a little bit of depth, and I drew a square. Okay, I used that same technique that I showed you earlier. Like, I found the center of this rectangle here by drawing an X, and then building out another square, drawing a circle within that. Finding the peak of the roof, and then again, because of the height of the roof and the angle of that peak, you don't see the top of that, that you don't see the shingles. But lightly drawing the back of the box allowed me, by lining up this corner to that corner and this corner to that corner, or that vanishing point, allowed me to like build up the inside of the room. And then every piece of furniture that you put in here, to keep it simple, should be set squared off so that they all follow the same rules. They either link up to that vanishing point or that one. Okay. Please reach out to me if you have questions. And there's a ton of YouTube tutorials if this is not enough of an explanation. But if you have your vanishing points established on your horizon line, and then you draw a vertical and connect them, connect the top and the bottom of the verticals to those vanishing points, and then build two more, then all it is just adding more and more boxes, either flat boxes like a window or a door, or physically three-dimensional boxes like beds, dresser, furniture. That's, yeah, so that's this week. I'd like you to try to draw a 2-point perspective of your childhood home as best as you can remember it. And if you're not sure about some details, make it up, because it's an exercise in seeing what we remember and what we don't remember. So of course it's not going to be perfect, right? If you want to try to shade it, if you have time, because we are starting at the beginning of the week, then figure out where your light is coming from. Let's say the sun is on this side, then this side is going to be in more shadow than this side. Okay. If the sun is hitting from this, hitting this face more, then anything on this side is going to be in more shadow, and then there might be a cast shadow coming off of here. Okay. If there's a bush or a tree, then and the light is hitting it from this angle, then you want to shade the back of it and have a cast shadow coming off of it. Okay. Last but not least, three-point perspective. And I will do a more in-depth demo of this for Thursday, but basically the horizon line in three-point perspective is usually higher or lower, not in the middle, because if you have a vanishing point here and here, VP1, VP2, VP3. So let's place a point here. This is the trickiest one. So there's VP3, and we're gonna, I'll use a ruler for this one. Okay. I could have picked any point within here. You could have put a point anywhere within this area, and then you start linking them up and then building a form. Okay, so from this point, I'm going to go down to here. I could go anywhere down here, it doesn't matter. From there, I'm going to link up to VP2. And then I'm going to pick a point here. This seems random, but it'll make sense in a second. And then I'm going to pick a point there. And then once I've joined those up from here, like I made these 2 points, and then I connected them to here and there, then those 2 new points will also connect to these vanishing points. Okay, so what did we create? We created a kind of a distorted box like that. Okay, so that is 3-point perspective. And so you could imagine if we start adding more boxes going here, or streets and more boxes, then it starts to look like you're looking down on a city. And if this was upside down and this is the vanishing point here, then now you have a box floating in the air, and it'd have shading underneath, and you could do anything. You could continue this up to here, and it could be like a tower or some other form that's reaching up into the sky. Okay, so that's the basics of 3-point perspective. I hope that you have fun with this, and please reach out to me if you need help. Okay, and I will leave that with you. Talk to you later.